that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 439th edition of Energy Week with George Harvey, me, and hiding in the, off screen. Wait a minute, there he was, just went away. The amazing Tom Fennell.
In the flesh.
In the flesh. And this is a show about energy. Every day I find news about energy and climate change. I put together little briefs about the articles with links to the articles at my blog, geoharvey.com. You can go there, or you can go to the site that is linked from the show, or download the text file that is linked to the show, which, by the way, includes all the photographs.
What I usually say about now is that some of these things, this is the best of the blog.
Yeah.
Okay. The three top items from your daily blog.
Yeah.
And some of these are well worth looking at. Some of them are long and very informative.
And the ones that we have this week, there's some really interesting, good ones that
I try to alert the people to these things because there's no law says you can't check them out.
Yep, and as I said, you can go down below on this page and find them either as a text file to download or as a link to go to. We're starting on the 30th of September. Today is the 7th of October. And
time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, it sure does. So should we go to this first? You should put up the photograph.
Yeah, let's put up a photograph. Where we put that up there, wouldn't we?
Yeah, nope, not you. Not that one. Go right.
Where's that?
No, go up. You see the white block? It says Energy Week. There you go.
That's the one that's up.
It's the one that's on the screen behind us, but you want to click on it so that you can go to
we want to click on this one.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, it's a wind farm in South Australia. This is...
Which, by the way, is the name of a state, just like South Dakota.
Yes, that's right. And it's a state that's about 2 or 2.5 times the size of Texas. And as I recall, I might be way off.
Don't say that in front of any Texans. You ruin their day.
Yeah. Maybe it was Alaska. The states in Australia are huge. This is from Clean Technica. What do you have for a title for the article, Tom?
South Australia hasn't lost 1 hour of electricity in 5 years, thanks to renewables and batteries.
This is, I think, truly astonishing. And let me read the synopsis. Renew Economy says that since 2018, South Australia has not lost 1 hour of electricity due to load shedding. In the previous 4 years, 7 million customer hours of electricity were shed. The improvement resulted from more renewable energy and storage. The concept of a customer hour is weird. It's not an amount of electricity. It's amount of customers times the number of hours that they lost power.
Okay, customer hours.
And a customer could be you or me, or it could be General Motors factory. You just don't know what it is.
Well, it mentions load shedding, and for those who don't know what load shedding is, it's
put yourself on, Tom.
Huh?
Put yourself on.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, so people can see what a handsome young man you are.
I'll put me up there because I'm talking, but
yeah.
I was just going to say that a load shedding is when the utility turns off power to customers in order to save the grid.
Yeah.
The grid is overloaded or something like that. It's about to crash, and they just call up Joe Schmo. They don't usually do it to individuals. They do it to corporations and say, we're going to shut you off this afternoon.
Yeah, actually, they usually don't call them and tell them.
They just do it.
And in some countries, load shedding is a daily thing.
Oh,
for
yeah.
customers.
Well, today, South Australia has several large-scale virtual power plants that, in conjunction with grid-scale batteries, provide critical grid services without load shedding.
So the grid is more reliable because they've got a huge amount of renewables and
Exactly.
Battery backup.
Exactly. Well, renewables are the future because why pay for the cow when you're getting the sun for free?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Okay, should we go on?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, I've got a picture of a nuclear power plant here, and this is
See if I can't get that picture up there.
yeah. There you go. This picture is not a U.S. nuclear power plant. It's a I think it's in Bulgaria or something. I
It's
don't
in some
remember.
weird place, yeah.
Yeah.
It came from a PV magazine in India, but that doesn't mean the picture's from
No,
India.
the picture is not from India.
Viktor Kiryonov, well, that's a clue. He's
It's
not Irish.
the photographer has a name that you would expect from the area that he's from. What do you have for title?
Renewables versus nuclear, 256 to nothing.
Yeah, this again I think is an important article. Not a huge article, but it really tells you what's going on in a way that is kind of stunning. The World Nuclear Industry Status Report shows the world's operational nuclear capacity grew just 0.4 gigawatts into 2020. And you round that to the nearest number of gigawatts, it rounds to zero.
Pretty close to it.
Yeah, and generation actually fell 4%. Renewables, by contrast, grew 256 gigawatts and production rose 13%. Quote, nuclear power is irrelevant in today's electricity capacity market, end quote. Now, I have here that's from the report's main author, and somehow that doesn't feel right to me. So maybe I've written that part of this synopsis incorrectly. Nevertheless,
Well, the bottom line is nuclear power is diminishing.
yes,
Okay. Renewables are growing.
yes,
Okay. And to paraphrase Bill Clinton, it's economy stupid.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Solar fuel is free. As I already said, why buy the cow?
yeah,
Okay. The levelized cost of energy of PV dropped, just a biggie, by approximately 90% over the past few years.
This is the levelized cost of solar power.
Yeah,
Yeah,
photovoltaic.
yeah. How can
Over
you,
the past years, while the LCOE of nuclear energy climbed by 39%, globally the cost of renewables is now significantly below that of either nuclear or gas. Welcome to the future, guys. It's here.
yeah.
By 2050, solar PV costs are projected to be 1/5 of those from nuclear power.
Yeah. Well, I've mentioned this before. A couple of months ago, there was an article, I think, in PV Magazine that talked about the cost of 2 nuclear plants that are currently being built in Georgia. 2.2
And they've been taking a long time.
Yep.
They're
2.2
dragging their feet.
2.2 gigawatts for $30 billion. And the guy who was the author of the article said, and he was a man who had the experience to do this, he designed a solar PV plus storage proposal, if you wish, but specifications for a plant that could provide for the power for the nuclear plant to replace this 2 reactors. And that meant that he had to size it to have an output that would be 24/7 from the batteries with solar power that would provide sufficient electricity in the winter, which means it's really oversized for the full year.
Well, that's the worst case.
That's the worst case. And his conclusion was that to replace $30 billion worth of of nuclear power would cost $17 billion worth of solar and storage. So you're going to
Doesn't seem like it makes sense.
No, it makes no sense whatever to build a nuclear plant under those circumstances. Just doesn't make sense.
Well, we still haven't solved the problem of what to do with the waste.
Yeah.
It's sitting right here in Brattleboro.
Yeah, and there's no place to take it.
No place to put it.
And if you find a place to put it, everybody on every road and every railroad between here and there is going to want to prevent it from going through their town. Okay, we should probably go on, Tom.
I think we can. We got
have
another picture coming up.
Yeah, we do indeed. This is Tesla solar, and in the background, Tesla batteries in the front.
It doesn't look like a photograph.
Yeah, I think it's a rendering.
I think it is too.
Yeah. Now this is from Clean Technica.
Well, is Tesla becoming a threat to the world's biggest utilities? Duh.
Yeah. The electric utility industry is on the verge of a revolution. The traditional utility model, in which energy is generated by a number of enormous central power plants, is already as outdated as the cars that burn fossil fuels.
I've said that several times on this show.
Guess what, Tom? I actually heard you, so I can tell that you're telling the truth. Tesla and Octopus Energy in Germany are offering a new approach, and that new approach is an interesting thing to talk about.
The grid as we know it is dead.
Yeah.
Okay? A new distributed model is waiting.
Yeah.
The grid will become a more complex, decentralized web of small generating plants and stationary storage facilities. And Tesla is well situated to take advantage of this trend.
Yes.
They see it coming, they got their eyes on it, and they're ready to jump.
And there are a lot of reasons to do this. There are a lot of reasons, not the least of which is that it'll probably produce the cheapest electricity that was ever made.
Well, in Germany, Tesla, together with Octopus Energy, is offering retail utility services in 2 large German states. So they're already becoming a utility.
Yeah, they are, in effect. Yeah.
There's a good 3-minute video, by the way, available on this link.
Yes.
Billionaire investor Chamath I can't say his name, Palihapitiya.
Okay.
He's an Indian.
It's an attempt.
Calls Tesla a distributed energy business.
Yes.
Okay, this is one of the world's richest men. There's a good 3-minute video of him on this link.
Did you say that it was Adani? His name? Is his name Adani?
No, Chamath Palihapitiya.
Okay. All right. We're up to Friday.
I don't know how they say that in Indian, but...
It's impossible in English. They can do things in Indian that nobody has ever done in English. We're up to Friday, October 1st, and we have a rendering
Jove, I think we are.
of Salem Harbor.
This is Salem, Massachusetts.
That's right. And we have an item from Renews.
Vineyard and Salem City ink a port partnership.
Yeah.
Now, is that a picture of something in real
No.
time
This
now?
is
a projection. This is what they're expecting to build.
If it were real, it would have looked much more messy along that area. Okay.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Vineyard.
Well, you can see what's going on there, though. You can see all the blades laid out there.
That's what it's for.
You can see the towers.
Yep, that's what it's for.
So this is just set up so that they can put these things up in the sea.
That's right. Vineyard Wind entered into an agreement with the City of Salem and Crowley Maritime Corporation to establish Salem Harbor as the second major offshore wind port in Massachusetts.
So that's a wind port we're looking at.
Yeah. Vineyard Wind has estimated that over 5 years, the project will create up to 900 full-time equivalent job years. Now, I want to point out that those stacks of long things with pointy ends in the foreground, those are the blades. And then kind of upwards from the middle and off slightly to the left are the masts that they would put in.
Yep.
And, there will be other things.
And I think over in the corner there are the nacelles.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Do you have more on that?
I think I do, but I'm going to have to scroll. Well, Vineyard Wind is going to serve as the port's anchor tenants.
Okay.
Okay, they're using the property for the Commonwealth Wind Project, which we've talked about.
Yes.
Okay, and other projects in the company's portfolio. It's a purpose-built port for turbine assembly and staging activities and storing and assembling components. You can see that from the picture.
Yeah. Okay. We're up to, and we have a picture here of a solar array in India. There are solar collectors in the background there that are.
Are they solar collectors?
Well, some of them I think
round
clearly.
ones?
Yeah. Some of them I think are clearly solar.
Well, they could be solar.
Concentrating.
They could be solar thermal, but I
That's
would
what they
imagine
are.
they could also be audio or communications talent. Communications.
Possibly, but some the dark ones I feel pretty sure are solar.
No, they're the
thermal.
same damn thing. They're just facing a different direction.
I think you're right. So what do you have? This is from the Indian Express.
Solar array. Oh, well, that's what the article. That's the
Yeah.
picture. It's a solar array in India. New renewable energy policy to implement power projects by 2025. And they're talking about 17 gigawatts here. They're not playing games.
Yeah, a gigawatt is what, Tom?
A bigawatt.
Yeah. By the way, the when it was first built, the Vermont Yankee plant was a little bit more than half a gigawatt.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was what that was. The Maharashtra government, Maharashtra is an Indian state, has come up with a new renewable energy policy aiming to implement 17,360 megawatts, which is 17.36 gigawatts, of transmission system connected power projects by 2025. That's not long from now.
Not at all.
That's pretty close. This includes 12,930 megawatts of solar projects, 2,500 megawatts of wind projects, and then more.
That's where your 17 comes from,
Yeah.
isn't it?
That's right. That leaves, a couple thousand megawatts from geothermal or hydro or what have you.
Well, for those geography nuts, Maharashtra is in western India,
Right.
and that's where Mumbai is.
Right. Yeah. Which used to be Bombay.
It was Bombay when I was there.
Yeah. But now it's Mumbai.
Mumbai.
Well, they keep changing these names around. How do they expect
Well,
anybody
the
to remember?
Brits couldn't say Mumbai, I think.
What can you say? The rich.
Huh?
Okay, should we go on?
Yeah, we got a nice picture.
We have a
here
picture
coming up.
of a Chevy Bolt.
Not to be confused with a Chevy Volt.
Yes, that is true. And this is from Clean Technica.
GM blows past Biden renewable energy goals with 100% by 2025.
In recent years, General Motors chair and CEO Mary Barra is
She's pretty sharp.
she's impressive, has made the company into a renewable energy influencer. Now, GM has announced a new carbon cutting initiative that sets a 100% renewable energy goal by 2025. Yes, that's 2025, not 2035 or even 2030. It's 2025
or bust.
This is, GM is just one company that has done something like this, and you're going to see others, one after another, in the next 5 years.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it does. They're going to save a lot of money by doing that. That'll put them way ahead.
Well, I got a couple of notes here. The announcement validates Biden's ambitious climate goals.
Yes.
Even as Republicans in Congress continue to hit the kill switch on climate action.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
what can you say?
Rather than focusing on projects that only benefit the company's carbon profile, GM is part of a broader corporate movement to spur renewable energy investments that provide whole of the economy benefits and influence consumer behavior.
Right.
So they're getting on the ball here.
They
They're
are
getting on the
indeed.
bandwagon. Cutting costs for everyone while increasing access and improving reliability across the grid are the end goals.
Right. Okay, we're up to Saturday, October 2nd. Before you take that picture down, I'm going to put a new one up.
We got a picture of the moon.
Yeah,
And
except
also
it isn't
happens
the
to be
moon
focused on the driest and warmest parts of the world.
of the Earth. You said moon, Tom.
Ah,
Yeah, well, it's round. They're both round. It's okay.
some people won't agree with you.
Okay, I think some people would be right. This is from Clean Technica, and what do you have for a title for this article?
Well, let's see what the title says. Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, and Disney lobby against Biden climate initiative.
Yeah, well, remember those names. These are companies to write notes to or avoid or something. Some of the largest American, I'm surprised about Apple, and Microsoft, some of the largest American corporations, many of whom have made pious pledges to rely on, to act on climate change, are fighting tooth and nail to defeat the $3.5 trillion Biden infrastructure package with its many provisions for reducing U.S. CO2 emissions.
Well, Biden's budget reconciliation bill, which is what we're talking about
Yep.
here, has been called, quote, the most significant climate action in our country's history.
Yes,
Okay? And major corporations are working overtime to defeat it.
yes. And some corporations are working overtime to get it passed.
Yeah, that's true.
Should we, do you have more on that?
Well, there's a takeaway here. Unfortunately, this read from the article, the way politics is done in America today, corporations have all the power and the people have none. Money talks.
Yeah.
Since the corporations believe their only obligation is to create shareholder value, the result of this power imbalance is easy to predict.
You know, I've been pretty conservative all my life, and the idea of a C Corp, which is designed primarily to increase the value of the shareholders' investment, I think should be made illegal. There should be a constitutional amendment saying you can't do that. You can be a B Corp, you can make lots of money. B Corps do make lots of money. Ben & Jerry's is a B Corp, it's not the only one. But a C Corp, which has that, a corporation has got to be more than just a rapacious psychopath, which is what they are.
Many of them are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, our next item is from Clean Technica.
We got a nice picture here.
We
coming
have a
up here.
picture here of, and believe it or not, I think that is in the Philippines, that picture of
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's in the Philippines. And
wind turbines in the background, and it's hard to make out in the
if you
foreground.
look close, it's there. It's a thatched
Roof of what is
thatched
probably
house.
a house. Okay.
Doesn't
what do
look like there's anybody living in that thatched
well,
house.
it does
though.
look like the thatching is.
It is. If you look closely, it looks like it might be a person standing in a doorway.
Okay. I don't see it. I'll take your word. What do you have for a title?
A look at the Philippines' clean energy ecosystem.
A small but mighty group of startups is helping the Philippines forge a clean energy future, according to Energy Week Nexus and RMI. RMI is Rocky Mountain Institute.
Yeah.
15 young companies are helping transform the climate crisis and close the region's energy access gap with renewable energy and clean tech solutions. I find it hard to include articles about the Philippines in my blog because there are so many islands that it becomes difficult, I think, for most Americans to figure out what's going on, because really big, bold initiatives involve small amounts of capacity, and you say, what's going on here? This sounds like some village in Utah or something. Well, it's an island, and these people are living.
It's a bunch of islands.
Yeah, these people.
A lot of islands.
Everybody in the Philippines lives on an island.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Well, the Philippines is one of the most vulnerable countries in the world to climate change.
Yeah.
Sea level rise is 3 or 4 times faster in this island nation than the global average. I don't know why that is. It gets hit with an average of 20 typhoons in a year.
That might have something to do with it. 25 typhoons?
That's what the article said.
Yeah.
20 typhoons.
20 typhoons.
Coal-fired power constitutes 57% of the country's energy mix.
And they don't
That's
get
gonna
energy.
change.
They don't get energy to everybody. And they are putting in renewable power to get
And
energy.
they're buying that coal. They don't have any coal, I
Yeah.
don't think.
So,
Renewables account for less than 25%, with wind and solar significantly less prevalent than hydropower and geothermal.
yep. Okay, we
And
should.
in the article, it says exploring 5 opportunities. Now, I'm not going to list them here to keep us going for the rest of the show.
I'm sure they
But this
would.
is one of the ones that if you got the time, and it's a long article,
Yeah.
look it up.
Okay, our next article is from Clean
This
Technica.
is an interesting picture.
It's a
Very
picture of
interesting picture.
a that is a battery, and
Well,
if you
it's
look
more
at
than a battery, but it is
Yeah.
a battery.
if you look at the middle thing that looks
That's the battery.
that is a group of cells that are just like the cells that you put into a flashlight. They're not the same size, but they're basically the same
Basically
shape.
the same thing.
Yeah, and that is a battery of a car that has lots and lots of those smaller
Well, the
units. in it.
battery, as you can see, it is encased in steel. And it's interesting, the article says that that's part of the structure of the car.
Yeah, it would make sense. What do you have for title?
Well, there's a 20-minute video here about the Texas Gigafactory.
Oh,
And
yes.
This Gigafactory is bigger.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's see. Exciting updates on Tesla battery production progress. And there's a 20-minute video there. It's interesting if you got the time.
Yep,
Because this Gigafactory is half the size of Brattleboro.
yep. It is well understood that Tesla likes to make its own components to reduce dependence on others, a clear result of how Elon Musk sees and approaches work. This is quite the opposite of the big two, Ford and GM, which farm out every single piece of the car they possibly can. That makes Ford and GM both vulnerable to things that
Makes what?
Ford and GM both vulnerable.
Well, they have not been following that model.
Yeah.
They've been outsourcing everything they can.
Yeah, and that makes them vulnerable. It
Yeah, it
means that
does.
if the road closes, they get their parts late.
Musk is building 2 gigafactories.
Yeah.
One in Texas, the other one's in Germany.
They're starting a
There
new
might be-
one.
there might be more than that.
Yeah, well, there's more than that. I don't know how many he's
There's
got.
one in Berlin and there's one in Fremont, Texas.
Right, and they're starting a new one, and I forget what it's for in California. But yeah, should we go on?
Might as well, can't dance.
Okay, this one is from the Sierra Club.
Oh, this is one of my most favorite butterflies.
Oh, I love these things, and I think they're starting to recover, Tom.
Well, they are endangered, especially in this part of the world.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is these guys love milkweed and people hate milkweed.
Well, people in Brattleboro are starting to let milkweed just grow.
Well,
But we've got a problem, which is a vine that grows up that has little tiny purple flowers, and it has pods that are like they're shaped like the ends of pencils on both ends, and they don't look at all like milkweed, but they're related, and the butterflies recognize them as milkweed because of their chemical,
I haven't heard that one.
and they lay the eggs there, and the young can't live on them.
Oh, that's such,
So it's very shame.
it's such a beautiful
shame.
butterfly.
It is, and this year, I've been seeing them almost every day.
I used to see a lot of them. I don't see a lot of them anymore.
When I was a kid, if I wanted to see a monarch butterfly during the summer, I could just walk outdoors and walk for a little bit,
And
there they were. Now it's not like that anymore. I did see one on the way to the studio, by the way. There was one. Dick DeGray had put up these he puts up these floral things all over town. So he's got flowers growing all in.
Oh, yeah?
All the flowers up and down Main Street and Elliott Street and
Oh,
whatever.
they're Dick DeGray,
They're
yeah?
Dick DeGray
Oh,
doing
cool.
that. Yeah, and I saw that one of them was being visited by a monarch butterfly.
Well, there's a little takeaway from this article.
Well, we haven't read the.
Disconnection caused the climate crisis. Reconnection will solve it.
Yep, one principle binds together the daunting challenges and correlative solutions advanced by Paul Hawken and his team of researchers, essayists, and scholars in the book Regeneration, Connection and Reciprocity. We are pushing the national system that sustained us to the brink of extinction. And that, I think, is simply true.
Well, what the article says is we once lived as other animals do, in concert and in conjunction with the natural world. Our relationship to that world is now broken.
Yeah.
We are extracting, consuming, and polluting the habitats and ecosystems that sustain and nourish us.
Yeah.
Now, this is a quote from Hawking. We live on a dying planet. But he says there's still time to change course.
Yes, I think that's right. Now, our next item also comes from Clean Technica, and this is a
nice picture.
A nice picture that
I've
was
seen
not...
this picture before, but I've been to Norway, but I haven't been to that part. That's particularly beautiful.
It is, isn't it? That and you know, you're thinking about the Vikings. If you were living in there in Viking times, would you have wanted to leave? Well, maybe you would have. This is
nice little town nestled in. Boy, those mountains are sharp, huh?
Yeah, they are. What do you have for title?
What do we have for title? I got to figure that one out. Norway's EVs break through the 90% barrier, and Tesla takes 2 trophies.
Norway's plug-in electric vehicle market share in September broke new ground, hitting 91.5%, with full electrics taking 77.5% share. And what that means is that plug-in hybrids plus full electric EVs were 91.5%. The full electric EVs were 77.5%.
So they're not selling many diesels in Europe, huh?
Diesels lost more than half their share year on year, falling to just 2.3%. Petrol and plugless hybrids did not fare much better.
Well, this is interesting because in Europe for the last 20 years, diesel passenger cars have been the thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we've been using gas cars, but they've been using diesel cars.
They've been using diesel, yeah.
And this article saying is they've lost more than half their share of the market.
I think the reason we use gasoline instead of diesel is because diesel cars last longer. They don't want us to buy cars that last a long time.
I wouldn't argue that logic. I wouldn't argue that logic at all.
Okay, our next item, we have a new, unless you have more.
No, I'm just moving up to the next picture. This is an interesting picture.
Isn't it? There's a lot of pictures of that particular location.
Yes, there is.
I don't know what it's called, but it's well known.
That's not an island.
No, it's the end of a peninsula. This is from CNN. What do you have?
The shocking numbers behind the Lake Mead drought crisis. And it is a crisis.
It sure is. The U.S. largest reservoir is draining rapidly, plagued by extreme climate change-fueled drought and increasing demand for water. Lake Mead, Colorado River Reservoir, just east of Las Vegas, registered its lowest level on record since the reservoir was filled in the 1930s. And you know, that from everything that I've seen, there's no hope of that getting any better anytime soon.
It doesn't look that way. Sure as heck doesn't look that way.
You got something on your mustache.
Well, probably.
There you go.
Lake Mead is now at 36% capacity. Okay, it's around 143 feet below full. That's roughly the height of the Statue of Liberty.
Below full.
It's that much lower than full.
Yeah, I understand that. So if you put the Statue of Liberty in at the current water level and filled the reservoir,
you still wouldn't see it.
The Statue of Liberty would be underwater. Okay, more.
And there's a bathtub ring of white minerals along the lake's shoreline.
Yeah, we've seen that a bunch of times.
And we have, yeah.
Okay, our next item is from Clean Technica. Whoops. There we go. And we have two.
Well, there's a quick takeaway here. The Hoover Dam, which forms Lake Mead, can produce 2 gigawatts of hydropower.
Not if there's no water.
And that's in jeopardy.
Yeah. We have two Volkswagen ID3 cars.
That's what it says.
This is from Clean Technica. What do you have for a title for this?
Volkswagen bosses and labor chief want big changes at the Wolfsburg factory.
Herbert Diess, the Volkswagen Group CEO sees Tesla and a host of Chinese car companies in the rear view mirror and moving up fast. Volkswagen risks falling behind the competition unless it makes big changes in its manufacturing.
Interesting article. These said that Tesla and many Chinese manufacturers are producing cars cheaper and faster than he can.
Yeah.
Than Volkswagen.
Yeah.
A Tesla Model 3 takes 10 hours to build. Building that same thing in Zwickau, which is in Rhode Island, I think.
Here, I thought it was.
That takes 30 hours.
I thought that was
three times as long to build the same thing.
Yeah, I thought.
Wow.
I thought that factory was in Ireland. Okay, yeah, it's.
Well, they're tearing down old buildings and new production halls built in order to make the manufacturing
They're spending
process
billions of dollars.
more efficient.
Billions of dollars.
Well, the Chinese are starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So they got brand new factories.
Yeah.
I mean, his Wolfsburg factory was built by Hitler in the 30s.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. A lot of people don't know that Hitler was the guy who paid for the production of the original VW Bug.
And that's exactly right. It was the people's car. It was part of a program.
That's why it's called Volkswagen.
That means
People's
car.
wagon.
People's wagon.
Yeah. Car.
Car wagon.
Yep. Okay.
Who's going to quibble?
This is an electric truck.
It does look
The
like that.
article is from Clean Technica.
Now, look at that truck. It looks to me like it's been in an accident already.
It does, doesn't it?
That's the first electric fire truck in Australia.
Yeah, it's in the capital. It's in the Australian Capital District.
It is only, well, that's what,
You have a
I'm supposed to say that, the first electric fire truck in Australia.
right. Sorry about that. It's the only fitting that the nation's capital receives the first electric fire truck. Canberra, which is in the capital.
It is the capital. It's like
Yeah, but they have a thing. I think it's the CAT, Capital Territory.
ACT.
ACT.
It's the same thing as DC,
yeah, that's
District
right.
of Columbia.
Canberra will take delivery of the $1 million vehicle next year. Now that $1 million is Australian, so that means $750,000.
More than I got in my bedroom, I tell you.
I will, yeah. It will be the fourth in operation in the world. There are 2 in Europe, and there's already 1 in Los Angeles. The truck is being produced by the Rosenbauer company in Austria. That is Austria, not Australia.
Well, this is interesting because we've always called these things fire engines, but we don't know why. It's not the thing that drives the car, that's the engine. There's a pump in the back.
Yeah, that's right.
And its idea is to pump water on the fire.
They were steam engines.
Well, before that, they were hand pumps.
Hand pumps, yeah. But the first power engine that
No, it would have been steam. Would have had to been.
was steam.
Yeah.
And the steam engine was, they were just loading that up with fuel and getting it going so it would be ready as the horses pulled the wagon, the engine to the fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this vehicle's main propulsion will be electric, but the pumping engine will be diesel.
Yes. Because it has to go for a long time and they can't do it with a battery.
And the truck will come equipped with solar panels to help recharge the battery, which makes sense.
Yes, it does.
But transitioning just one existing truck to an electric fire truck is forecast, just one truck, to reduce diesel fuel consumption by about 50,000 gallons over a 10-year period. So they're going to save a lot of money using this.
Yes. Okay.
Let's move along. We got another one coming up here.
We have a picture of a Boca Lift 1, which is a Boskalis ship, which is for installing.
Well, that's an interesting picture there.
Isn't it?
It is that, and it's real. That's a real picture.
That's a real picture.
Not an artist.
That is a crane like no crane I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is. Well, Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners has installed its first jacket. Now, why they call those things jackets, I don't know. But
I don't know.
that orange and yellow thing is a jacket.
Those tall things in the back, which look like they're 15 stories tall.
They're big. Well, that's what the turbine sits on.
Yeah, that's right.
That sits on the ocean floor, and the
Yeah.
turbine sits on top of that.
Yeah.
And you
Okay.
can sort of see the way they fit together in that picture.
Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners has installed the first foundation at its 589 megawatt Changfang and Zidao offshore wind farm complex in Taiwan. Boskalis HC Offshore Partnership Bawai put the jacket in place at the over the weekend using Bocalift 1 vessel, which is the one.
Well, this marks an important milestone. A total of 62 three-legged jackets, and I still can't understand why they call them jackets, will be installed at the project. Each one is at 250 feet high and an average weight of 1,200 tons.
Oh, man.
That's a big job.
The first ship that my father served on when he was in the Navy,
Yeah.
he went into the Navy in 1941, in the spring of 1941, took a commission.
So he went in just before the war started?
Before the war started. His first ship, the Montgomery, was a converted four-piper destroyer
Okay.
that had been converted into a mine layer, and it was at Pearl Harbor when it was bombed. And that ship was lighter than any one of these things that gets installed. If you
The
could,
ship was lighter than one of those
that's right.
assemblies.
Yeah,
Jackets, they call them.
yeah. It was about 1,200 tons.
Interesting looking ship, isn't it?
At least
Like
that's
a
my
hotel
recollection.
in the front there.
Yeah, they got a hotel in the front. That's right, and they charge out beds at very exorbitant prices. We should probably move on.
I think it wouldn't hurt.
Do you have anything else on this?
No, not really.
Okay.
But
we
got
have a
picture of some
now.
condos
We're
here.
up to Tuesday, October 5th, and we
Let's
have a
see if I
picture
can
of
get that picture.
Laguna Beach and an article from CNN. This has to do with that oil spill they had off the coast of California.
It just happened.
Yeah, and that beach that you're looking at is not many miles from the oil spill, and it's actually this beach is one of the beaches closest to the spill. So I think that beach is actually closed down right now.
I think it is. I think the article mentions that.
Yeah.
Well, those are some condos on Laguna Beach.
Yep.
And what we know so far about the California oil spill.
A leak in an oil pipeline caused a major spill off the coast of Southern California on Saturday, sending oil spewing into the local environment, potentially harming wildlife and nearby human residents. The volume of the spill pales in comparison to some of the U.S. largest such incidents. Yeah, this is not a big spill, but it can cause a lot of damage.
Well, this oil spill is estimated at 126,000 gallons.
Okay.
Exxon Valdez was 10.8 million gallons.
Yeah, so this is
Okay, and the
pales.
Deepwater Horizon, which is the king, 210 million gallons. And what they surmise is that an anchor hooking an oil pipeline caused the spill.
Yeah, but they don't know that for a fact.
No, that's a guess, but
Yeah.
it's an educated guess.
Okay,
Let's move along.
if you wish, we have an item from Clean Technica,
And we got a picture.
a picture of a Tesla Model Y. It is not a why, it is a Y.
Aha. France jumps above 20% plug-in EV share in September.
France, Europe's second largest auto market, saw plug-in electric vehicle share jump to 21.5% in September. 21.5 in France, 91.5 in Norway. Over twice the 10.6% share seen a year ago. Diesel was down to a record low of 17.6% share. The overall auto market volume was down 16% over seasonal norms. So the auto market in France is suffering badly, except for one sector, and that is the electric vehicle sector.
That's exactly right. The electric vehicles are healthy. The diesel vehicles, sell your stock, buddies.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. Do you have more on that one?
I do, but it's not critical. We'll move on.
Okay. We have a picture of the GE Haliade X prototype. This is in Rotterdam.
Rotterdam.
And, you know, just for anybody who's interested and looks at this picture, if you have the idea that those smokestacks in the background are taller than that wind turbine, they are, and that's why they look taller. Even the ones, even the four kind of white ones in the far background may be taller. It's hard to know exactly about those four, but those other two are definitely taller.
So that's Rotterdam Harbor.
That's Rotterdam Harbor, and that wind turbine was put up as a test. So
Yeah, right. I was just going to say that. That's a kind of.
This was originally a 13 megawatt wind turbine. It was
Originally was a 12.
Well, that's right. And then it was turned into 13. Now it's 14, and it's actually operating as a 14 megawatt wind turbine. And
You can't really tell from the picture, but that thing is big.
oh yeah, and this
That's
is
big.
This is from Renews. What do you have for a title?
Rotterdam is now operating at 14 megawatts.
That makes it the first player in the wind industry to operate a wind turbine at this power output. The Haliade X 14 megawatt is an uprated version from the Haliade X 13 megawatt, as Tom and I were just saying, which received the new certification in January of 2021. So it's been
One of these turbines can generate up to 75 gigawatt hours of gross annual energy production.
without burning $1 worth of oil.
It's based on typical German North Sea wind conditions.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
You can get
gigawatt hour, 75, that's a lot of power.
that's a lot of power.
And this Heliod X14, the new one that we're looking at here, will make its commercial bank debut at the Dogger Bank offshore wind farm,
Wow.
which is off the northeast coast of England. They're going to provide 87 units.
Yeah, I think one of these turbines might be big enough to supply all the electricity required for Windham County.
I wouldn't argue against that.
I might be wrong about that. It might be that there's
You're
no
not
need.
far off, I don't think.
Yeah, but you can't do that for a very simple reason, and that is these big units have got blades that are so long that you can't transport them on land.
No, you can't. We've
You-
talked about that
yeah.
on the show.
You'd have to do something special about transporting these
Well, you,
blades.
you could figure out blades that come apart,
Or you could find some alternate way to transport them, use
which is what they're doing. They're
Yeah.
transporting them by ship.
Yeah, for this it's easy to transport them by ship, but you couldn't bring them here by any kind of water communication.
Well, any ship big enough to hold them wouldn't be able to make it up the Connecticut River to Brattleboro.
Well, not even. I don't know how far it would be able to go up the river, but it wouldn't be able to go up far.
Now let's move on here. We got a picture of a Volvo electric truck.
And we have got to Wednesday, October 6th. This article is from Clean Technica.
Well, the article says that clean truck rules are good for New Jersey. Well, I got news for you. They're good for more than just New Jersey.
Yeah. A report shows that zero emission trucks and buses will cut pollutants in New Jersey, protect rivers, provide $11.6 billion in societal benefits to the state over the next 30 years through a Clean Trucks New Jersey program. To maximize the benefits, parts of the program need to be adopted this year.
They didn't explain why they said that.
No.
Other than the fact that the benefits are starting right now.
That's
Let's
right.
get on
Yeah.
the ball.
That's right.
Well, the Advanced Clean Trucks Act requires manufacturers to produce and sell an increasing percentage of zero emission vehicles.
Yeah.
Zero emission. And the other rule, HDO rule, establishes more stringent limits on certain emissions that contribute to smog.
Right. And so, one of the things about, I used to live in New Jersey, and this all puts me in mind of a spring day when my kids were little, and looking out the bedroom window, where the bedroom was on the second floor, there was a nest of birds outside the window. I could see.
That's cool.
See the little ones. And later that day, I drove to, I don't know where it was. It might have been Hackensack or somewhere up in that area. And the superhighway that I was on had been closed down over a stretch, and we were put off onto a residential street. And there was a line of tractor trailers in front of me that was just as clearly much farther than the eye could see. And as these tractor trailers drove down the street, their diesel fumes were blowing up into the trees.
I would expect, yeah.
And I saw that and said, none of those little birds in those little nests in those trees is going to be.
They're going to survive.
They're not going to survive. They're just not. They will all be dead, probably before the end of the day. And people should realize this is what they're breathing. You know,
well, the
old
article
people, young
says
people.
that commercial trucks and buses account for less than 10% of the vehicles on the road, but they have an outsized impact on public health.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that.
Yes, we have. Okay, if you want to go on, we can.
I think we can. We got a nice picture here of a electric vehicle getting fueled.
Yeah, off in some street. This is not a special looking place. This is from Clean
It's called
Technica.
Charging an Electric Car.
Yep.
Electric sales surge in the UK as fossil fuel car sales slump. That's significant.
It's happening all over the world. Battery electric vehicles took a record slice of the UK new car market in September. According to a report earlier here in Clean Technica, nearly 33,000 pure electric cars were registered in the UK last month. That is almost 50% more than were sold in the same time last year, according to The Guardian. And of course, the overall market in the UK is down, but the electric vehicles are up.
Well, yeah.
And this is the pattern all over the world.
They're talking about the UK, where they've been buying diesel cars for a long time.
A long time. UK cars are a funny thing, Tom.
Are they?
Oh, when I was living there, and this was 59 years ago, a lot of people had three-wheeled vehicles, and they may do that again.
Three-wheel vehicles?
Yeah, they
Wow.
had a three-wheeled vehicle that looked like it was kind of a bad copy of a Morgan or an MG TC or something like that. And but these things, and they had tiny engines, but they cost very little. And the people in the UK at that time had very low incomes, and the taxes on cars were outrageously high. A lot of people, if the families were big enough that they couldn't afford to have a three-wheeled vehicle because they had to get more kids, for example, into the car, they'd buy a van because they could get those at lower
rates. That's interesting.
tax rates. So,
Well, a quick takeaway from the article. Sales of diesel cars continued their steep decline, with 77% fewer sold than a year ago.
Yep.
Now that's significant.
77%.
Yeah. Only 1 in 20 new cars sold in the UK was a pure diesel. And diesel cars for the last 20 years have been it.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, let's move along here. We got another picture coming
We
up
have a
here.
picture, and we have an article from CNN
And that is an oil platform. I had never known.
yeah.
America's offshore oil infrastructure is aging. Duh.
Well, this is a comment on that oil spill off the coast of California.
Yep.
We haven't seen a lot of oil spills off the coast of California in the past, but the reason for that is because there wasn't a lot of drilling for oil off the coast of California.
Because there isn't that much oil out there.
There isn't that much coast out there. There isn't they didn't have the technology to do, they had the
It
technology.
gets deep fast.
Yeah, it gets, the coastline in California is very difficult for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way. So, and also the regulation, they had to open it up. Okay, after a leak in a pipeline sent as much as 144,000 gallons of oil gushing into the ocean off the coast of California, experts pointed to another growing problem. America's offshore oil and gas infrastructure is aging and becoming ever more vulnerable to accidents, natural disasters, and stronger hurricanes.
Well, from the article, we know it's old. It's aging, just like everything else. The only thing is the pipelines are out of sight, out of mind. We don't even know there's a problem until there's a problem.
Yeah, and part of the overall issue here is that the companies that run some of these are not big oil companies; they're small oil companies, relatively. And when they are done with if they finish up the ability to use some of these things all at once, it might be in their best interest to say, okay, we're going out of business, goodbye.
That's what they do.
And
they just walk away.
They walk away, and they leave somebody else with the cost of cleaning it up. Now, the law says there's supposed to be a deposit, a bond big enough to clean it up, and the amount that they cover in the bond is one of those unsubsidized fossil fuel, unofficial fossil fuel subsidies that you hear about, and the fossil fuels industry says, we don't have that subsidy, it's not a subsidy. No, it's built in such a way that it encourages the companies to go away.
They just walk away.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we are up to the end of the show. We're actually a little bit early. So do you have anything you want to say, Tom?
Well, according to this article, this all comes with a cost. From 2001 to 2020, there have been almost 6,000 significant pipeline incidents, offshore and onshore, resulting in over $10 billion worth of damages.
10 billion.
Billion.
Yeah. And a lot of that is uncollectible. We've got millions, literally millions, of abandoned oil and gas wells.
Oh, definitely.
That need to be
We've talked about that on the show.
We have recently. And
yeah, they just walk away.
If you look
say you want to clean it up yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep our deposit.
And the bond that they issue is usually 10% at most of
what it actually
costs, and the rest of it falls on the taxpayer. And it's not a good situation. This is a very unhealthy situation.
Well, from the article, the Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, the BSEE, has allowed oil and gas companies to leave over 97% of their decommissioned pipelines. That's about 18,000 miles on the ocean floor.
So there's 18,000 miles of abandoned pipelines.
But they're just leaving it.
They're just leaving there.
Leaving it.
And they have not necessarily been flushed. They might have oil in them. They might be connected to something that would spill oil.
They don't even know. They just walked away.
They just walked away.
I'm not using this pipeline anymore.
That's right.
See you guys. See you around.
Kind of like, how would you like to live next to a family that collected old cars and then just left?
That has happened in Vermont.
It has happened. And furthermore, they didn't leave their house for sale. They just left.
Just left, huh?
And I knew a guy once who had 17 Corvettes.
17 Corvettes? That sounds like an investment.
The town went to him and said, you've got to get rid of 15 of those. This was not Brattleboro, but the local town that we were in, he thought that was just atrocious that they would do that. But the town said, you've got to get rid of 15 of those. You're zoned to have 2 unusable vehicles at the most.
Huh.
So anyway,
generally have the right to do that.
We have no time to go on now. We should probably put both of us up.
I was just going to do that.
We are encouraging everybody to have an abundantly rewarding week.
Well, that's a good idea.
I thought that would be good.
Adios, amigos.
Come back soon.